Good afternoon, everybody. I promise I will be brief and keep it short. At the start of the day, you arrived with fresh coffee and clean notebooks. And at this point, you're sitting with information overload, overflowing inboxes, and brains that have traded more ideas than we do at the JSE on a strong index rebalancing day. I'm also acutely aware that given the time of the day, the market in this room is pricing cocktails at a premium and closing remarks at a discount. So my job is to narrow that spread as quickly and as painlessly as possible. So if we take a quick look back at the day, we opened by asking a deceptively simple question. If the current capital markets model is being disrupted, what do you want the next one to look like, especially for South Africa? From there, the day moved in distinct waves. First, the big picture, the macro, geopolitics, the future of capital markets, and what all of that means for South Africa's risk premium and investability. We then shifted into policy and product, where we talked market reforms, Operation Phumelela, product diversification, derivative innovation, and everything that sits under the hood of a modern market. And then with the final panel, we're closing with pipes and pixels, where we're looking at data, connectivity, colocation, cloud, AI, trading infrastructure. And these are all the important things that determine whether your strategy is visionary or just late. Along the way, we had from policymakers and regulators wrestling with the reforms rather than speaking in theory about them. The buy-side leaders explained to us how they're actually allocating capital rather than how they describe it in slide decks. Global Voices gave us a frame view of how South Africa looks from the outside, and then the technologists and market structure specialists reminded us that architecture is now strategy. So if at this point of the day your notebook is full and your head is spinning a bit, that was our intention with this program. So I understand that some of you are joining us for the first time this year for this event. So please allow me to get you up to speed on what you've missed in the previous edition. So when Trade Connect started in 2019, the brief was ambitious but simple. Create one serious, technically credible forum in South Africa where C-suite leaders from the buy side, sell side, infrastructure providers, regulators, and policymakers could have an honest conversation about equity market structure, and then actually do something with that feedback afterwards. Since then, each edition has pushed the story forward. We've unpacked competition and fragmentation, what happens when more venues compete for the same pool of liquidity. We've debated the broking model of the future, what it means to be an intermediary in a world of algos, analytics, and fee compression. Then last year, we looked at strengthening the investment appeal of South African capital markets, basically how to make South Africa a deliberate allocation and not just a rounding error in a global EM portfolio. This year's theme, disruption of the current capital markets model, driving growth through innovation, is the natural next step. We're no longer speculating about where the disruption is coming. We are acknowledging that we're already in it. Digital assets and tokenization are no longer just conference buzzwords. Extended trading hours and even always-on models are being tested globally. AI is being embedded throughout the trade lifecycle. New data, new participants, and new products are challenging a very old playbook. So the key question is no longer will the model change, it's are we going to help design the model or have it handed to us as a finished product and told to adapt. And importantly, Trade Connect has never been intended to be a talk shop. So over the years, the issues you have raised in this very room have directly fed into the way we've evolved, for instance, co-location and our low latency offerings. Ongoing cost and pricing reforms to make access to JSE markets more competitive. Our product and market structure roadmap from, for instance, derivatives to ETP innovation and how we think about your listings and cross-market flows. So what happens here doesn't simply evaporate into the Cape Town air. It goes back to that building at One Exchange Square, into our strategy sessions, into what we choose to prioritize and invest in. So at this point, I'm going to try to compress really a full day into 3 key takeaways you can still remember by the time you open your laptops on Monday. And by the way, I'm saying Monday deliberately because we all know no work will be done tomorrow, especially after the cocktails. So here we go. Number 1, the market model is being rebuilt in real time, and we have a say in the blueprint. So the classic single venue, fixed trading hours, largely analog model is gone. We are moving towards a world where liquidity, data, analytics, and risk management are tightly coupled. Trading hours are stretching, and in some markets, never truly close. Asset classes are blaring through tokenization and structural innovation. What came strongly throughout today, from Kathy's keynote through to the buy side and product and tech sessions, is that this community does not see itself as a price taker of whatever the future model might be. You want a seat at the drafting table, not just a copy of the term sheet at the end. Number 2, policy, product, and plumbing have to move together. A recurring theme today was that policy and reforms, regulation and supervision, market infrastructure and products cannot run on 3 uncoordinated tracks. When the story is incoherent, investors will either hesitate, demand a premium, or go elsewhere. What we heard in the market reforms and Operation Phumelela conversations is a shared recognition that we need reforms that are credible and implementable. Regulation that is coordinated, proportionate, and predictable. Infrastructure and products that are globally competitive, but locally sensible. When those 3 line up, then the conversation about South Africa's risk premium and positioning in global portfolios starts to look very different. And then thirdly, this is a participation story. Beneath the macro, the technology, and regulation lies a simple question. Who feels able and willing to participate in our markets, and at what scale? Today, we touched on the mandates and constraints of our largest institutional investors, the role of cross-border and dual-listed flows, the growing structural influence of retail investors and digital platforms, and the importance of broadening the base of participants. If we can make it easier, cheaper, and more compelling for more investors and issuers to use South Africa as their home or hub, then many of the metrics we obsess about, such as volumes, spreads, depth, and valuations, will start to take care of themselves. So, where do we go from here? At this point in the day, the last thing you need really is a 12-point action plan with KPIs and reg statuses. So I'll be nice, and instead of giving you homework, I'll leave you with 3 invitations. Firstly, keep challenging us. So if something about our market structure, rules, pricing, products doesn't make sense from your vantage point, tell us. And I might add, preferably with the same clarity and passion you used with the person sitting next to you over coffee during the breaks. And with at least as much detail as you give your favorite broker when you're unhappy with execution. We may not always agree on the answer, but the conversation is how we move forward. Secondly, co-create with us. Many of the ideas we discussed here today, tokenization, derivatives, extended trading hours, only become real if the firms in this room are willing to pilot, experiment, and share learnings. We don't see the JSE as a gatekeeper of innovation. We see it as an enabler and partner, but we need co-authors, not spectators. And then thirdly, keep showing up. The only reason Trade Connect has grown in stature since 2019 is because you, as senior leaders, keep making time to be here, to speak frankly, to disagree constructively, and to collaborate across competitive lines. In a world where it's easy to sit behind screens and send carefully drafted emails, there's still an enormous value in spending a day in a room like this together saying, this is what we're worried about, this is what we're excited about, and this is what we're going to try and fix. Now, before I officially close, I'd like to thank a few people and a few entities. Firstly, to our speakers, panelists, and moderators, thank you for your time, the preparation and frankness you brought into those conversations. You really gave us views we can't get from just reading research notes alone. To our sponsors and partners, you can see them on the sidelines there. Your support allows us to convince this caliber of dialogue and keep lifting the bar each year. And to all of you in the audience, thank you for engagement, your questions, and more importantly, the work you do to support our markets. And to the teams behind the scenes, firstly at the JSE, at the risk of forgetting some people, JSE, that's the JSE. The people behind the scenes, you know yourselves. Thank you very much. Your efforts are well recognized, and we could all see it on a daily basis, the work you put into this. And also to our event partners as well. Events like this, they only look seamless because the huge amount of work is invisible and takes place in the background. And Outlook reminders alone don't create a conference of this caliber. Now, this is the part where I should be closing and letting you all go upstairs to the cocktail event. But there is one very important item on the agenda I'd like to just quickly discuss. So over the past few years, Trade Connect has become what it is today because of a clear vision from the top. That vision has been shaped, championed, and pushed forward by our outgoing CEO, Dr. Leila Fourie, who will be leaving the JSE at the end of March. Leila has led the JSE, and in many ways, this market through some of the most turbulent years in recent memory. We had the pandemic, rolling macro shocks, structural headwinds, and a rapidly changing global market structure. Through all of that, she has kept the JSE family focused on stability where it matters, disruption where it counts, from listings and market structure reforms to cost and access initiatives. To the very innovation themes we've been discussing and debating here today. She has also been the driving force behind Trade Connect itself, insisting that South Africa deserves a forum of this caliber and that the JSE must be willing to host difficult and honest conversations in order to move the market forward. The fact that this room is full and that the debates are robust and that the conference has become a fixture of the industry calendar is a big part of her legacy. And at this point, I'd like to call the JSE's executive team to the stage, please. Yeah, all of you. And Helena, of course. Thank you. I'm going to quickly hand over to Valdine to say a few words.
I don't have a mic, but I will speak loud, and we won't be much longer. But thank you all for being in the room, and we really wanted to take a brief moment to honor our fearless leader. Guys, it's Leila's last Trade Connect, but the legacy of what she's built over the 6 years in the last term that she served and the 15 years that you've served collectively at the JSE and for this industry goes so highly regarded. It is bittersweet, as Fifi said. Your executive team loses a fearless leader, but you've left so much in each one of us. And we hope we do you proud. And on behalf of the industry and on behalf of your ExCo team, we want to say thank you. We will miss you. And you've really carried us with grace and the strongest credibility. So thank you, Leila, for being our fearless leader.
Thank you.
Leila's going to say something over a nice glass of wine. So, she's waiting to see each one of you guys upstairs. Really, thank you, Leila, and thank you to each one of you guys for your attention and your participation today, and to the JSE teams for another great caliber event. Thank you. And guys, I've been told that you come specifically for Investex after party, and that's the only reason you sat through the last 8 hours. So the party is good, and Investex, thank you very much, Andres, Will, and team for hosting another great event tonight, which we know will be a nice, long, drawn-out event. So we'll make our way upstairs to celebrate with Leila. Thank you.
Thank you.